VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard with you live downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Very busy program lined up over the next 3 hours. Adam Shernoff, bottom of this hour. Paul Stone, an hour from right now. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of this great property. Paulie coming up a little bit later on. The close calls in Survivor to go over with him. A $3 million sweat on an NFL game for him and his crew on Sunday. We have look-ahead lines of the quarterfinals in college football. Week 16 in the National Football League and the NBA Cup tonight. How you feeling?
Feel good.
How surprised. This is the biggest news of the day. Forget about what happened last night because both those teams are dead teams for the most part. Boy, what a wasted year for the Bengals. Wasted year. How surprised are you with the news that we got a couple of hours ago on the North Carolina football job and Bill Bellichick potentially taking this bad boy? Because Ollie Connolly has been all over this. And he tweeted out this morning out here, Pacific time, update on this job. Bellichick has agreed to become the next UNC coach. Bellichick handed the school a 400-page, quote, organized Bible with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, etc., decisions on whether to commit with North Carolina. He is expected to know their decision within the next 24 hours. Globally, you can find odds on this. I don't know, minus 150 is out there on him right now to become the next coach at North Carolina.
Seems way too low. I mean, if the ball's in North Carolina's court, it's a no-brainer. You're North Carolina. It's the greatest coach of all time. How do you not say yes, whatever you want with your demands? Maybe it's while the son would take over, but that's what Hoodie wants. But as far as can he recruit, look at his girlfriend, a young gal. And then the fact that she is following North Carolina on her social media accounts, according to reports. But I just, if this came down last week, top 5 biggest upset in 40-some years watching sports for me, that you're talking about a guy in his early 70s, 8 Super Bowls, greatest coach of all time, Shula's record right there, and no NFL, I'm going to go not only a college job, but not a marquee job, North Carolina, and do this. It's unfortunate for, to me, the Belichick legacy, also because we love the NFL and all these bad coaches and what we watch every Sunday, and if it was going to happen in college, you would think it'd be a top-tier program. I'm stunned at this. I can't believe it. I'm shocked, and I think it's going to get done.
Well, here's a couple things, right? NFL teams across the country have nobody to blame but themselves if they allow this to happen. Shame on you. And I'm looking at you, Atlanta Falcons.
Absolutely.
Total disgrace for what happened last year. You interviewed the guy. He wanted the job, but everybody was too, shaking in their boots. They didn't want the possibility of losing their job when he would come in and take control. You want to win or no? No, go with Raheem Morris. Good job, fellas. Way to be super proactive on that, and really with strong vision. As chance to be the best coach. He is the best coach of all time, but the winningest coach on top of it, right? There's that, and I got to tell you here, locally, I hope this gets a lot of attention. How does Mark Davis allow Tom Brady to allow this to happen? He's going to let that guy be part owner of a once proud, been a long time, once proud Raiders organization. And he's a minority owner, and then the relationship, obviously, with Fox, he's getting $37.5 million a year to broadcast. That's a worse contract than Juan Soto. But regardless, Mark Davis, and he would never do this because he doesn't have the guts, and he's not that kind of a guy. How does he not sit down with Tom Brady and say, break off the connection with Fox, stop broadcasting, help me out here, I'll give you even a bigger percentage of this, and make this happen. Make Bill Belichick make the offer so impossible to refuse that he's going to be the next head coach of the Raiders. Mark Davis should be furious about this, or, I don't think he has the stones to actually allow this to happen, but that's really unfortunate. Brady is minority owner out here. He can't get involved because of the broadcast and stuff. But put your foot down once, Mark Davis. Your organization's horrendous since your dad passed away.
Yeah. I don't know how great the relationship is. I don't think it's solid, but That's one thing, but that's a fair point. But the other thing is, what happened in Chicago, and the list goes on.
Of course.
About this guy should have been somewhere, and team should have been lining up to get him, and it didn't happen. So you thought maybe just take the year off, do the Manning cast, do appearances on McAfee, Gregarious doing a good job, not typical boring Bellichick. Love to sit around and listen to him talk football, and then just come back after a year. And to think this is going to happen, here's my plan. Develop these kids, NIL, and the goal getting you to the NFL and then the future set up with his family. It's a no-brainer if I'm North Carolina, and I can't believe it's only $1.50. Okay. Right? Aren't you shocked by that?
If he agreed to it, what are they waiting for?
You can't beat this, right?
How are you going to his North Carolina?
Yeah, spend some money, right? You saw what happened today with BYU in college basketball. They got the number one recruit. Again, NIL levels the playing field and gives everyone a chance now. So if BYU can get the best player in college basketball, certainly you would think if Carolina steps up, they can become a force and a powerhouse with Belichick, spend money, and be right there in the college football discussion.
I heard this yesterday. So this was Bill Belichick explaining what a college program would look like with him in charge on the Pat McAfee show.
Let me put this in capital letters. If.
Yeah.
I-F. If I was in a college program, the college program would be a pipeline to the NFL for the players that had the ability to play in the NFL. It would be a professional program, training, nutrition, scheme, coaching, techniques that would transfer to the NFL. It would be an NFL program at a college level and an education that would get the players ready for their career after football, whether that was the end of their college career or at the end of their pro career, but it would be, geared toward, developing the player, time management, discipline, structure, and all that would be life skills, regardless of whether they're in the NFL or in somewhere in business. And I feel very confident that I have the contacts in the National Football League to pave the way for those players that would have the ability to have the opportunity to compete in the National Football League. Whether they're good enough or not, I don't know, but they would be ready for it. I don't have any doubt about that. So that would be the first comment that I would make, relative to the structure of the program. It would be an NFL program, but not at the NFL level.
Okay, so I hear that, right? North Carolina heard that for who knows how many hours. He also gave them a 400-page, quote, organized Bible. Again, they're waiting for what?
Apparently he won't negotiate on it. It's like, this is it. This is what I want. That's non-negotiable.
Well, you're North Carolina.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Who
I know.
cares?
Yeah, I know. It's Bill Belichick.
Good God.
It's a snap call.
Yes, it is.
You got pocket aces here. I don't know what I'm going to limp.
Lord.
You don't limp.
It's incredible.
I can't believe this.
I mean,
can't believe any of it.
Again, I hear that, and I see he's minus 150. Okay. How is he not like minus... But I got the Bama thing wrong last week. How is he not minus 5? How is he not minus 1,000? Whatever that number might be.
I guess it's like Atlanta Falcons thing, though.
And maybe they don't want
ego, and I'm threatened by the guy. And all right, this leads us to Top 5 Tuesday. Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's a top.
You ain't first. You're last.
5
That's not enough, Dad.
Tuesday.
I've been ready for this my whole life.
Top 5 Tuesday.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Follow the money.
FTM at VSiN.com. Tweet at us as well. Biggest surprises in all your years watching sports. If this goes down, I have this on my list, and I think it's going to happen. Number 5, Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich on the Yankees in 1973 swapped families and wives during the season. This would break social media if this happened today. Incredible. Same team. It's like, okay, let's do it. Well, they swapped wives in the middle of the season. Number 4, Douglas over Tyson. Number 3, Belichick takes the North Carolina job. Number 2, Barry Sanders retires. Number 1, O.J. Bronco chase.
So this would be number 3 overall on your list?
Yes. I just, to think that he's the greatest coach in the history of
the NFL, and teams don't want him.
Yeah.
He's going to have to go to a mid-level college program.
Yeah.
It is astonishing. Here's my top 5. I try to stay off the field, but again, you have to remember that the concept of time is forgotten on people. So, like the younger generation, this is not going to be a big deal for some of them. The older generation are going to say, well, what about in the 50s and the 60s? Wasn't around for that. Number 5, Dale Earnhardt dying on the track at Daytona. I was watching it live.
Okay.
And NASCAR was a monster back then in 2001.
Okay.
And he was trying to eliminate the competition from, I think it was Waltrip and his son, from competing it out and winning. He got in front of it. He died on the track. Biggest star in the history of the sport died on the track. It unfolded on national TV in front of our eyes. Number 4, I don't have to get in the details. You know why. This actually could be number 1, the Penn State story.
Very good.
I'm not even going to elaborate. It was so disgusting.
Yep.
Number 3, the Len Bias overdose. He was better than Michael Jordan in college. He went to the Boston Celtics in 1986. That's Ohtani going to the Dodgers. Who knows how good the guy was going to be in the NBA. Number 2 is the OJ chase. And Bellichick does not crack my top 5 because Magic Johnson, when he announced that he had HIV back in 1991, still takes the cake.
Good one. I forgot about it.
Again, because you can't, that's 30 plus years ago now. All of us thought he was dead in 4 to 5 months.
Yes. There were people crying at the press conference. They just assumed they were going to a funeral.
Yeah.
We know someone who was in the front row and what it was like. And yes, forgot about it.
The tone.
Good list.
Right?
Yes.
The emotion that came from that press conference. That's, we didn't know a lot about HIV at the time. I'm probably 13, 14 years old. All my buddies and I were just like, this is super sad.
That's it. He's got 6
dead.
months to
live. He's dead by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So the reaction from that, and here he is still alive today, and I mean, like the businesses that he has gotten his hands on, and at the forefront of these teams and other stuff, man, incredible that it's still a thing. When you go back to 1991 and what we thought was going to happen. We'll get your reaction to that coming up, and Paul's going to recap last night's betting action with Win Some, Lose Some next here on VSiN.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
The holidays are here, and so is the ultimate gift for every sports bettor, a VSiN Pro subscription. With VSiN Pro, you'll unlock expert picks sent to your inbox daily, access to exclusive betting splits, and 24/7 video coverage through the VSiN Watch app. Plus, betting guides and best bets for the college football playoffs, the Super Bowl, and March Madness. Lock in our holiday special, just $79 through May 1st. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe and join the Sports Betting Network.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Paulie Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
Another primetime game lived up to the hype. Big tickets cash. CeeDee Lamb first touchdown 11-1. Lamb and Chase both to score 3-1. Chase 2 touchdowns 4-1. 100 yards plus 185 here at Circa. 140 yards plus 450. Cooks anytime touchdown plus 385. Burrow 300 yards plus 190. 3 touchdown passes plus 340. The over was bet up from 44.5 up to 51 and fell 47. Subscribe, be part of it. Oh, that quick pick came in too.
It did.
That 26-1 we talked about on air with Cooks, Lamb, was it Brown and
Chase
to score touchdowns came in as well. Subscribe, be part of the team, VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. This was making the rounds again on social media. This is, can I fit in here? Squeeze in here? 2 puppies taking a nap, and the other guy, is there room? Can I fit in here with this? These 2 puppies fell asleep and they're right next to each other holding on, and this guy comes in the middle. I think I can want to get in on the fun here. Can I just squeeze in? Look at the other guy. Like, are you serious? I'm sleeping and now I got to move over? What's wrong with you? Can't imagine what the guy on the right's thinking.
Plenty of space.
He's got good sleep. He's out cold. Like, what is this? There's no room. Trying to get your way in here with the puppy coming in the middle. Ridiculous behavior. Can I try to squeeze in? Like this guy. Look at the dog sitting in the wheelbarrow. He's got it all figured out. I'm going to jump in. I can get up there, big guy. And just, I'm going to take a bath and drink at the same time. I'm thirsty, a little parched. Rottweiler, I believe? Yeah. Excellent. Got to get one like that. That's excellent. Look at it. That's a great move. Paulie does Vegas on Instagram. Send him in. Thanks to everyone in the Army. That's awesome. Jumping right in. One bad beat. Dallas plus 4.5. It doesn't end. And the 3 people who had Cincinnati and Survivor, I mean, again, these Monday night beats and what, you're getting the ball back in a tie game with less than 2 minutes in Bengals territory, and then Leon let part 2 happens. You retweeted this, I forgot. They did the same thing in 2021 against the Broncos.
That's right.
Get away, fire, get away from it. Oh.
They blocked a punt, and as a result, they lost the game. That's the reason why they lost.
Yeah, but also you just figure Cincinnati then would kick a field goal, and then Chase houses it.
Right.
They don't tackle him, and he scores the 40-yard touchdown. Come on. You can't lose games like this.
These really bad teams are inventing ways to lose every week.
Yep. Dallas 1-6 at home now. Looking to bet smarter? We have the perfect holiday gift for you. Sign up our holiday special today. Everything we do through May 1st, $79. We're working on the college football playoff guide right now. Picks and props. The betting splits, DraftKings and Circa. The dog videos. VSiN.com/subscribe. Okay. So we missed a couple. It's going to happen, no doubt. We're late 40s. Kobe Bryant passes away. Oh, that one was tough.
That's absolutely on the list.
Yep. Hank Gathers passes away on the court.
Yep.
Loyola Marymount. Loved that team. And then they made a deep run in the postseason with Bo Kimball, shooting the free throw left-handed. Played the defending champs, Michigan, in the first round. Spanked them. I think they scored 150 points or something.
Yeah.
Manti Te'o. How about that story?
That was a wacky one.
Wait, the girl never existed? He fell in love with someone he never met? What happened?
Right.
That story?
I know.
That was a good one, too. Top 5 biggest surprises in the history of sports. Bellichick made my list going to North Carolina if it happens.
Yeah.
Mitch has a good list, too. Will we miss any? You chime in. FTM.
Kobe absolutely makes it top 5.
Yeah, Kobe's
we whiffed on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have look-ahead lines here, Paulie, at DraftKings for the quarterfinals in the college football playoff, right? Top of the bracket. We'll go Clemson as they take on Texas. That's the 5 versus 12 matchup. If Clemson wins, obviously the winner of that game will get Arizona State. DraftKings has Clemson minus 4.5 against ASU. I think the wrong team might be favored.
Yeah, I agree.
That's ASU all day long, no hesitation.
Yep.
Money line and absolutely plus the points.
They're hot. They're confident. Great coach. Levitt's playing well. And they got a truck at running back.
We got one tweet on this yesterday, and it was a very good observation, though. Will the bye kill Arizona State? All playing with all this momentum, red hot.
Mm-hmm.
This team will have a game in between, and could that actually be a thing? Texas would be 11.5 over Arizona State. Like Arizona State there, too. Too high, I think. The Fiesta Bowl, Penn State with a win over SMU would be 12.5 against Boise State. SMU would be 5.5 against Boise.
Yeah, the Penn State line's too high. And I think the bye comes at the right time for Boise, but also we know their history in this game. Shocked Oklahoma. Beat undefeated Andy Dalton and TCU. They also beat Arizona, big dogs, with Harsin. So they've delivered in this game time and time and time again. And I just think it's going to be a tough task, no matter who you are, to slow down Genty. And he better get 30 carries, Dirk Cutter. I don't know what to make of the SMU. That's be a tough one. SMU 5.5 against Boise. But I take the 12.5 against Penn State.
I think Boise State can beat SMU.
Okay, yeah.
In the Rose, DraftKings made Oregon 1.5 look-ahead number against Ohio State. Love Oregon there.
Mm-hmm.
Those injuries on the Ohio State offensive line, I think, is going to be a big deal, and that's the reason why I like Tennessee this week. And they made Oregon 6.5 against Tennessee, and I think that's too big. But again, I think this power rating on Ohio State is absurd at this point.
I'm with you.
And I
factor in the injuries and coaching scared.
And in the Sugar Bowl, DraftKings has Notre Dame 2.5 against Georgia.
Hello.
What does that tell you about the Bulldogs quarterback situation? Carson Beck not playing.
Right. And if that's the matchup, I would expect Notre Dame to win the game. They are hot. Georgia has issues with the quarterback play and the defense. Don't forget the 7th-place ACC team dropped 40 on them. That should not happen.
Yeah, in Georgia, they made them 6.5 against Indiana.
I would have to see how they beat Notre Dame.
Well, that's the thing, right? Indiana's power rating has to go very high if they win that game.
Yeah, but it's also possible it's cold snow and it's 13-10, special teams boo-boo, whatever.
I mean, please, for the love of God, give us Clemson over Texas and make Clemson at least a 4.5-point favorite against Arizona State.
They're not a better team.
Oh, my God, that's absurd to me. How is that number? I get it. You'd have to raise Clemson over Texas. But people are talking about Texas as if they're like one of these great teams of the last 5-6. They're not. They are not. And they're playing the wrong quarterback, by the way. Defense is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Sark, he's fine. He's good. He is far from great. And Arizona State has been just awesome this year.
Yep.
And with the way that they're rolling at this point, to get Clemson, that number is too high.
You know what's funny? One of the few teams that contained and shut down Scatterboo was Texas State, of all people.
We were live on the air for that
We
game.
sat here on a Thursday night thinking, okay, early in the season, this is kind of cool. Texas State against Arizona State. Maybe Texas State has a chance to make the playoff. They win this game. And he had like 25 carries for 60 yards.
I had him over 100.5 yards.
They completely shut him down. But other than that, he's been Superman.
Yep.
And you're right about Hod, and maybe there's something to the bye, but I just think Dillingham's too good. And they're cooking. And that'd be a phenomenal matchup, no matter who they play. But I think they would give Texas a game.
And
they have a ton of confidence. And I was very impressed. I hated the spot. Remember, they beat BYU, tore down the goalpost, came right back and obliterated Arizona the next week in a rivalry game, and then have no problem taking out Iowa State.
Now, knowing what we know about Ohio State 12 games into the season, I get it. They almost won at Autzen, and that was a 1-point game when they played there this year. To make this a rematch on a neutral and on a good track plays right into Oregon's hands, and they're 1.5 against a really bad offensive line. I think we have to hope that Ohio State wins this game against Tennessee so we can get this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they made DraftKings has Oregon's win total at a half overs minus 130. They're the best team in the country. I actually think Tennessee gives them a better game than Ohio State would.
Yeah.
That's
where I think Lanning could really stick it today again.
Yeah. Yeah, and oh, by the way, again, think about this is what I wrote up in the guide that's coming out. I like Tennessee. That's my best bet plus the points. I don't trust Ryan Day. I don't trust... How can you trust Chip Kelly at this point?
You can't.
And I think Will Howard is another thing. And oh, by the way, the offensive line might be the weakest link of everything that we're talking about here.
I'll tell you, I watched Syracuse this year. Quarterback McCord was good.
Yeah, he put up a lot of big numbers.
Yeah, right? And it's like, he was the problem? Okay. He was the problem. And then you spend $20 million, and this guy throws a horrible interception against Michigan, and then you refuse to throw it the rest of the way. They can't get a first down.
I think people forget that those Oregon teams that Chip Kelly had, they were always a run-first team, or he wanted to run first anyway, and they had dynamic backs every single year. But they were flashy, and they scored a zillion points, and they had a ton of speed, and Mariota won the Heisman, so people assumed that they just threw the ball every single time. They didn't. They ran the ball a lot, and that's what that game plan against Michigan is all-time bad.
It is.
It's not working.
No.
Come up with something on the fly.
Oh, Dan Wetzel again. He's been following sports, covering sports a long time, Yahoo Sports. It's the worst coach game he's ever seen, he said. Dagan Kelly.
Yep. Adam Shernoff on the program coming up next. We'll go over week 15 games in the National Football League, a conference and Super Bowl future he likes, and some awards coming up here on VSiN.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll go heavy NFL here. Adam Shernoff joins the program with Right Angle Sports. His podcast is called The Simple Handicap, and he's on the Progressive guest line. Adam, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And Mitch, I got to call it out. I'm seeing 55 degrees in Las Vegas. It's a beautiful turtleneck. But did that come back with you from back home? Or, I mean, you're making some of us up here in the cold feel pretty bad about things when you're dressing up in the turtleneck, as nice as it is at 55 degrees.
Hold on. You're going to have a good answer for this in a minute. But it gets,
okay.
Do we consider where you live the Pacific Northwest on the Canada side? Canadian
Absolutely.
side? You do. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So it gets windy there once in a while, yeah?
Yes, it does.
Okay, it gets little known fact, it gets super windy here in Las Vegas. And when it does, it cuts right through you like a bone saw. So I'm always cold.
55 degrees, cutting right through you, real crisp.
I'm always cold. Always.
Okay.
So there you go.
Does get windy. Well played.
It does.
Yeah.
It's, dude.
Sneaky.
It's bad.
Creeps up on you at 55 degrees.
Yes, it does. So, okay. So tell us about this then. You live in the Pacific Northwest, again, probably 2 hours north of Seattle on the Canadian side? Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Give or take.
Okay. So then where are you at right now with this? You have something here. I think you got a pair of bullets that you're holding on the Seahawks and Packers game. What is it?
Okay. Well, let's start talking about the total, which I haven't bet yet, but I will say this. We're looking at a pretty unique situation when it comes to this total, and I'm going to be very curious to see how this goes the next couple of days. So internally, we look at anywhere between 3 and 4 weather models every single week. There is one weather model that is forecasting for this game on Sunday Night Football winds with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. If there are 40-mile-per-hour gusts at Lumen Field with how high the stands are and the open ends at the north and the south, and that wind is coming off of the water, it is going to be very, very difficult for either team to have a chance throwing the football. What makes this very interesting is the other 3 weather models do not have nearly any wind, sustained nor gusts, forecasted for this game. And the window of wind sort of ends Sunday morning. And so one model is forecasting that window is going to slide over. The other models are saying that it is going to stop. I will say this. Right now, the total for this game is 46.5. If there are 18 to 20 mile an hour winds that are sustained with gusts up to 40 miles per hour, which one very popular weather model has forecasted for this game right now, this total is probably going to close 5 to 6 points lower. Now, I'm not saying that is going to happen. It is Tuesday. It's a forecast. There's a lot of variance in it. What I am saying is it is very unusual to have this much variance in a wind forecast for any game, regardless of any time of year. So from a betting situation, something the bettors have to keep their eye on for the total.
All right. Do you like a side in the game right now, by the way? The Packers a small favorite on the road here?
Absolutely. I like Green Bay -2.5, -120, indifferent of the weather. Now, I will say if the wind kicks up like it is forecasted to do, the way that Green Bay has been running the football with LaFleur all season, they're going to have plenty of success moving it as great as the Seahawks defense has been. I think that any forecast and the potential for that to kick up benefits the Green Bay Packers in this game, especially if the Seahawks are still possibly without Kenneth Walker. But if there is no wind, I'm looking at this game and the Packers being able to attack the one weakness that remains from the Seattle Seahawks defense, which is using play action. It's somewhere even with the improvements that Seattle has had where they have struggled. And I really don't feel like we've seen the best Packers game yet from them on offense. Against Green Bay, they took pro money all week. I regretted being on the Lions at the number I was last week, but the Packers were getting bet like crazy. In play, that number was shaded towards the Packers as much as I've seen a game shaded in play on the point spread all season. At halftime, the Packers were bet up nearly 2 points at some of the more respected sports books. Seattle has been faded in market the last couple of weeks with money going against them on game day at the biggest limits. This number so far is reflecting the opposite, which I don't agree with. I have the Packers rated a lot higher than the Seahawks, and I think the Packers overall getting a little bit shadowed by some of these NFC North games. The NFC North outside of the NFC North this season is 28-3 overall, while Seattle has been thriving since the bye inside their own division. So to me, this is a game, it has to be 3 at a minimum. I like the Packers here. And I'll tell you guys, if this weather kicks in and we see this total plummet, I think game flow-wise, it really benefits Green Bay.
Strong stat there. Excellent. So unique for this late in the season, we had so many teams off a bye. Is that your angle with Houston? Did it come at the right time? What were they able to fix, or what are they going to address now hosting Miami?
It's a massive reset for the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans had his presser last week, and he just said the team was exhausted and gassed. Perhaps what's a bit forgotten is the Houston Texans were the first team to start training camp. They had the Hall of Fame game on August 1st, and so it pushed their training camp start date back earlier into July. And they also had the latest bye in season. So this was talked about preseason by how long the Texans had to go playing and practicing consistently. And then it was talked about quite a bit in depth last week by Ryan saying, like, we needed this bye in a big way. The team was out of gas. Guys were banged up. The offense was not in sync. I think this bye came at just a perfect time for Houston. And coming out of this, Houston and the coaching staff is talking about the next 3 weeks being a reset, a restart, and a refocus. They're calling these next 3 games in 10 days the gauntlet, which is going to push them towards, I think, showing much better on offense and defense. But there's just a new sense of rebuy into the season for this Texans team. So I think we see Stroud and the offense look as good as it has all season. And the Dolphins, the last couple of weeks, benefiting from a Jets team that was down their best corner. They've been playing other teams as well that have had banged up injuries in the secondary. This Texans defense, if they're bought in at home, I think can show pretty well too. And so Houston here -2.5, -120 with this reset in season, I think is a really good spot for them out of the bye.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Adam Shernoff, with the Simple Handicap Podcast. He's also on X at Adam Shernoff, and he is on the Progressive Guest line. Same thing here kind of with the Ravens. Not a reset, so to speak, but they're taking on a horrendous Giants team. That number's up to 15 now at some spots. What do you want to do here?
Well, I'll be keeping my eye on Lamar Jackson props. I think that's something everybody should kind of circle and think about down the stretch. We don't have anything posted yet, but interesting kind of back and forth in what we're hearing. So first of all, it's just kind of like an all-time subjective angle in this, similar to the Kendre Miller stuff last week. Lamar Jackson's mom called him out publicly, and they're obviously quite close, but she was criticizing him for not running the football more. And that kind of lingered into the coaching staff giving us some hints that things might be changing. In the offseason specifically, Todd Monken did a podcast that was around an Arkansas football fan website. And he was talking about how, if you guys remember, I'll pull it up. Do you guys remember the Titans game last year in London that the Ravens played? Where they couldn't get the ball into the end zone. Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay, so out of that game, Todd Monken and the offensive staff were basically called out by Harbaugh behind closed doors for being too reliant on Lamar in the red zone. And Monken this summer did the podcast and talked about how from that point onward in the season, there was basically a mandate not to run Lamar as much. And that was something that they were carrying into this season. And that was part of the reason why Derrick Henry came in and why he has had so much success in the red zone, because the Ravens haven't been willing to run Lamar. This week out of the bye, it sounds like things are changing. Not only is there the mum stuff calling out Lamar, but the coaching staff seems to be shifting their tone as well about allowing Lamar to run more. His sack rate is higher than it's ever been. And so I think there's going to be quite a concerted effort to get him running more in these higher leverage games down the stretch. Now, against the Giants, big favorite, big point spread, might not be like in full force this week, but something to circle going forward for Lamar, who's going to be running a lot more.
Okay, less than 2 minutes. Colts, Broncos, huge game. Colts catching 4. If Denver wins, it's pretty much we know who all the playoff teams are going to be in the AFC. Take it away.
I like Indy here +4. Keep an eye on Moss, the cornerback for the Broncos. He's been very good. I don't expect him to play. The Colts are coming out of the bye, and the big focus for them is pushing the offense and finding more explosive pass plays, which I think could be a benefit against this Broncos secondary that could be missing a pretty important piece. But also, the Colts defense is kind of sneaky underrated the last few weeks that they have got healthy. They don't blitz a lot, but their pressure rate is well above average. They're able to get to the quarterback. Bo Nix and the Broncos have had a pretty easy run of opposing schedules. And on paper, I think there's a willingness to look at the Broncos offense against this Colts defense and how much they play zone and the success that they could have. I actually think the Colts are able, with 4 guys up front in the rush, they're going to be able to get home against this very good Broncos offensive line. And the coverage behind that could give Nix a little bit of trouble. And so here the Colts in a desperate spot out of the bye with Steichen and his play calling becoming more aggressive and willing to attack. I like that mentality when you're getting north of a field goal. I think 4 points here for Indy is a good bet to make.
Ready to elevate your tail game? You have to try Sewell's. Born from a backyard cookout, mason jar of unforgettable flavor, Sewell's has become a Southern favorite, lighting up taste buds from Georgia to the Carolinas, from ribs and wings to a backyard burger. Sewell's takes every bite to the next level. Order online, Sewell'sBarbecueSauce.com. Southern hospitality never tasted so good. Sewell'sBarbecueSauce.com.
Adam has a couple of futures that he likes, and what does he make of the Bills taking money against the Lions this week?
Got a good thing coming, just wait and see. It's a good.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the all-new VSiN Watch app. Now, you can watch and listen to VSiN expert analysis live wherever you are. Missed a show? No problem. Catch replays of VSiN's full lineup at any time. View highlights sorted by sport. Or use the search feature to find specific teams and topics you're looking for. And the best part? It's free for a limited time. Download the VSiN Watch app today. Available now on the App Store and Google Play. And join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We continue here, National Football League, with Adam Shernoff. His podcast is called The Simple Handicap. He is with Right Angle Sports, and he is on the progressive guest line. When I do the look-ahead write-up at VSiN.com every week, I saw the number on the Lions-Bills game, and the look-ahead was Detroit -2, and I thought to myself, well, that's telling us that the Buffalo Bills are the highest power-rated team in the NFL. And I originally hated the spot for Buffalo because the Lions will be coming off of extended rest. They played last Thursday against the Packers. Bills are going to go from Sunday night snow football against the Niners to the West Coast against the Rams, back home, and then to the Lions. But factored into that, I thought the Bills were going to beat the Rams outright. They didn't, so I don't like the Lions as much anymore on Sunday. And now the Bills are taking money this week. What do you make of it?
Yeah, good spot for Buffalo. Give me the Bills +2 in this game. I agree with what you're saying, but to me, what set this up great was the loss at L.A.
Yep.
They clinched the division against San Francisco in the snow game. It was hard not to notice it was a bit of a exhale, if you will, on the road at L.A. They did not rush back Keon Coleman, kept him in a non-contact injury jersey all week at practice. They elected not to bring back Dalton Kincaid. There was not a Bills-esque sense of urgency going into that game, and they started slow, got behind, and couldn't catch up. This week, especially with the Chiefs win on Sunday Night Football, flips this around. Now this week is full urgency, have to win to stay with contention for the number 1 seed. I do believe we will see Dalton Kincaid back on offense. I think Coleman is probably a coin flip to come back. That non-contact jersey gives me a little bit of doubt that he'll be able to come back this week. But I think this is the Bills bought back in, and we see them perform like the best power-rated team in the NFL. I can't also ignore the distinct advantage that Josh Allen is going to have running the football against this Aaron Glenn defense. Every year that Aaron Glenn has been the DC in Detroit, this defense has struggled against any mobile quarterback that comes in, whether it's at home or on the road. And in a high leverage spot, we know Allen loves to use his legs. And so to me, that's a big advantage. I also look at this game and I think about the spot for the Lions. We talked about them last segment and how they were getting faded in the market, and we saw that throughout the game. I think we see that carry over this week as well. And so Bills offense indoors, completely different animal. I think this is where that Lions run and them kind of hanging on the last couple weeks in tighter games comes to an end, and the Bills win outright on the road in Detroit.
Are you concerned at all about the recent form of the Bills defense, not just the Sunday game against the Rams, but it goes back about a month now or so? And I do think the Niners were actually moving the ball in the snow against them on Sunday night before, McCaffrey got banged up, and that turned into a blowout, obviously. Are you concerned at all about that, or are you looking at the rest of the AFC saying that this is the best team and you want to bet futures on them?
I bet the Bills 6-1 to win the Super Bowl on Sunday night coming out of the loss. And I bet it because of the offense and what we're seeing from them. Defensively against the Rams, they didn't get off the field. That was an all-time game from Stafford. I mean, historically great over the last 20 years. And you see some of the highlights, the coverage that they're able to apply outside to these wide receivers is dominant. But Stafford made every single throw. Now, every contender right now has a flaw. And the Buffalo Bills' flaw is against opponents that have bigger offensive lines that can run the football. They have to gamble with run blitzes in order to stop the run. And at times against LA, even though the Rams weren't running the football super effectively, some of those gambles did not pay off. And we see the outside corners not be able to hold up as well against elite wide receivers. In this matchup specifically, the Lions could get out to a lead running the football behind the offensive line. They've taken the ball the last couple of games off the coin toss because they know defensively they have issues too. If that happens, that can be a problem for Buffalo. What I think is the difference between what we saw last week in LA and this week in Detroit, even though the Lions might have a better run game, is the Lions wide receivers do not compare to what you have in the Rams. And so the Rams are kind of a perfect opponent when hot to beat this Bills defense. I don't think the Lions passing game compares like it did last week. And so that's why I'm comfortable. But I like the Bills Super Bowl at 6-1. And again, that's the one weakness of Buffalo. So it could be on display this week. We'll see. I don't think it will.
We did this yesterday. My list was 9. I think Mitch had 8. How many teams can win the Super Bowl in your opinion?
Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Ravens. I'll put it at 5. And again, they all have flaws. The Chiefs lack serious depth at cornerback. They had to sign Nelson this week to the practice squad because they sustained another injury against the depleted Chargers offense. There were guys running wide open in the secondary. That defense is not the same anywhere close to what it was last year. So that's a flaw. The Lions defense, as we talked about, that's an issue too. The Eagles, I mean, they're in a dominant spot and have looked great for 3 months. You have wide receivers calling out the quarterback in the passing game at this stage of the season. For the Ravens, perhaps an inability to win in big games, but also that's a defense that is far different from what it has been in the last couple of seasons. So they all have flaws, but to me, those 5 stand out above the rest. I don't think the Packers' ceiling gets them into the Super Bowl. I'm not putting the Steelers in that offense with how boom or bust it is in that category. I don't think the Vikings are making the run with Darnold and their reliance on the deep ball, as good as it has looked at times. I just don't have them in that class. And then those other AFC contenders, I'm not putting in that same conversation.
Adam, I recall when you came on the show last year on a weekly basis, at this time of the season, you were making the case that when 2 teams would play and their playoff hopes were still alive, good angle here to play the over. And I think that those games were going over, you can refresh my memory, at like an exceedingly high clip. Are you going to be like doing the same thing, looking for those matchups and to play overs again this year?
I certainly am. And we've seen the league change the last couple of weeks. So after week 10, there were 5 teams in total with a positive pass rate over expectation. After week 14, this past Sunday, that number's jumped from 5 to 11. Last year, it wasn't quite as significant for how much teams were running the football, but the league, every team that was lower down in pass rate expectation and below ended up finishing down the stretch, if they were in playoff contention, an average of 3% higher than what they were at going into these final 4 weeks of the season. And so not only this year are we starting to see the league the last 4 weeks trend towards throwing the football more, but I think about some of these teams that are down towards the lower end of pass rate over expectation for the season. Teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, teams like the Green Bay Packers, Atlanta Falcons, Pittsburgh Steelers, Arizona Cardinals are on the fringe, Seattle, San Francisco. We're going to see all of these teams really open things up down the stretch and start to throw the football more. And so my rule of thumb is where you're looking at the NFL playoff picture calculators. If you're seeing about a 25% or more swing in some of these games, they just take on a different profile. These offensive coordinators in 2024 are not going down running the football. They're leaving it out there throwing. We saw Seattle, Arizona last week take on that profile. We saw the LA Rams with the season on the line take on that profile against the Bills. We're just going to see it down the stretch. And I always like to look at some of the uglier teams, Indy and Denver this week. That total's already been bet up, nearly a field goal. So the market's certainly taking to it, but early week, Sunday night openers, Monday morning, you're going to find a lot of these totals in these spots get bet over the rest of the season.
Okay, so we have a homework assignment. We're circling props this week for Lamar Jackson running the football and Josh Allen in his game against the Lions. Should we do the same thing with A.J. Brown after a win, calling out the passing attack and saying that he wasn't happy?
Kellen Moore came out this morning and said they have to do an effort and find ways to get him the football earlier in games more often down the stretch. The last time we saw this, guys, was last year, earlier in the season. He came out after, said he wasn't getting the ball enough. It led to 6 straight games of 125 yards or more, and he went firmly from semi-irrelevance to that point in the season to number 1 contender for Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, it was that substantial. We saw the offense shift. I'm not saying that that's going to happen down the stretch, but I mean, from a subjective prop betting angle, and whether you're calling it the squeaky wheel, whatever it might be, I mean, it doesn't get much stronger than what you're hearing from Brown, what you're hearing from the OC and Moore. And there's precedence to a Sirianni-led Eagles team to getting these guys more involved when they're being called out. So I think some of this is certainly going to be game state dependent. The Eagles have been very good as front runners, and they haven't faced a run defense that has been above average more than twice this season. So they've had a very easy schedule of opposing defenses where they can lean on the run game. This week against Pittsburgh, certainly not the case. Maybe this is the week where we see a big passing outbreak from them. Something to certainly keep in mind as we go down the stretch, though. And that A.J. Brown stuff, from a subjective handicapping angle, is as strong as it gets, really.
Yeah, that was dynamite. The whole thing was. Follow Adam on X, at Adam Shernoff. His podcast is called The Simple Handicap. and he is with Right Angle Sports. Great talking to you again. Best of luck this week.
Enjoy the games, guys. Chat to you soon.
Back at you. There you go. And he was on the Progressive guest line. How about that? They look at 3 to 4 different models with the weather. One of the models they're looking at in Seattle has 40-mile-an-hour gusts, 20-mile-an-hour sustained winds. The other 3 models, not much of anything. So imagine if that one model is right.
Right. Still 41 was too high then.
Yeah.
If it hits, that's crazy. It takes the passing game completely out.
Paul Stone on the program coming up next. Opinions on the playoff games and also Army-Navy here on VSiN.
Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard share their knowledge of sports, gambling, and pop culture on